Okay, everybody, today we're going to talk about two wars that took place in Greece. They influenced and decided pretty much how Greece was going to go on during the 5th century and really into the 4th century. And eventually these two wars, the results of these two wars do lead to the downfall of the Greeks and the rise of Alexander the Great, who we will talk about later in the week. So the first of the two wars are the Persian Wars, and there's actually two chapters to the Persian Wars. These wars were Greece against the Persians, and they served to unite the Greeks. Okay, so all the Greeks came together in different times, in different parts, to work with each other. The second war that comes much later, about 50 years after, 40, 50 years after the end of the Persian Wars, is what's called the Peloponnesian War. And this actually divides the Greeks because this is a civil war. It's Greek against Greek, predominantly Athens and their allies versus Sparta and theirs. So we're going to start with the Persian Wars because they come first. Okay, the Greek city-states united for victory against the invading Persians during the Persian Wars from 490 BC to 479. So over approximately a 20-year period, they fight each other. A little bit on the Persians. The Persians are the largest empire of their time. Their empire stretches across what is now known as Asia Minor, which modern-day Turkey, most of the Middle East, the modern-day Middle East, Iraq, Iran, into Pakistan, Afghanistan, from varying degrees of size, and into what is known as Southern Europe, the areas that are parts of Greece, but also Bulgaria, and some of the states of the former Yugoslavia, including Macedonia. Okay, and this is both they're a sea power and a land power, very large army. They're run by a dynasty of father to son. We're going to be dealing with the Emperor Cyrus, Darius, and then eventually Xerxes, who is the one who is famous for the movie 300. If any of you have seen the movie 300, we will be getting into that battle that took place a little later in the notes and then in class. Okay, so Miletus is where this all starts. It's a Greek colony in Asia Minor, okay? But it had been conquered by the Persians, and they get some encouragement from the mainland Greeks, the Greeks of Greece proper, the Athenians especially, to revolt against the Persians, okay? Athens sends them military aid, but the revolt is crushed. And the Persian king Darius invades Greece in revenge for the Greek interference, and he invades at a place called Marathon that you can see over here on the map, and this is where the idea of the marathon race comes. I'll explain that in a moment. Okay, so the Persians invade here on the map on the right side. Okay, this is the Persians in the red, and the Greeks are over on this side. Okay, what happens is the Persians concentrate their forces to a frontal attack on the Greek lines. Marathon is really nicely set up for a defending army because it's kind of in a bowl, and there's mountains, or not really mountains, but hills to each side. The Persians attack into this bowl, kind of a valley or depression at the main Persian lines. The Greeks, I'm sorry, I did say Persians, but I meant the Greeks. The Greeks come around the hills that surround and attack the Persians on the sides, creating what's called an envelopment. And the Persian army is basically surrounded now by Greek forces and is chewed up, and it's a very bitter defeat. At the end of this battle, okay, the Greeks dispatch a messenger to Athens to let them know that the battle has been won, and Greece has been saved. It's approximately 26.2 miles from Marathon to Athens. The guy runs the whole way, supposedly comes into the Athenian leadership, the main meeting place where the Athenian leadership is, announces the defeat and then the win, and then keels over and dies. And this supposedly created the marathon race of the later Olympic Games, and then the modern day marathon is patterned after it. So a little bit of history there. 10 years later, Xerxes, who is Darius' son, invades in revenge of his father's defeat. And he's met by the Spartans at a place called Thermopylae. Okay, this is where the battle in 300 takes place. Basically, this was designed to be a delaying tactic by the Greeks to hold up the Persians until the rest of the Greeks can concentrate the forces. Okay, the Spartans go. They go on their own. The king takes basically his private forces because the city-state of Athens votes not to take part in this because they think the Persians are really only coming to punish the Athenians, not the Spartans. Okay, now the holding action works. Okay, they hold up the Persian army long enough in invasion for several days so that the Athenians have the chance to rally the rest of Greece and defeat the Persians. And the main battle of this, which is the one in the next 300 movie, if you haven't seen it, is the Battle of Salamis. Okay, and that's an island off the coast of southern Greece, right off the coast of Athens, and they entrap the Persian forces in an envelopment again, but this time it's the navy, and they destroy the Persian navy, and the Persians really are never heard from again. So Athens now becomes the most powerful of the city-states because they have led this victory, okay, in the Persian War. From 460 to 429, a man named Pericles, who we've already read a little bit about, rules Athens. Okay, and Athens thrives during this age of Pericles. This is what is known as the Golden Age of Greece. And we will go over some of the achievements a little later in the week. Athens prospered in its economic life, its cultural life, and the period of prosperity, again, called the Golden Age. Okay, and this is a picture of Pericles here on the right. Okay. Gradually, Athens develops its own little empire to not so much rival the Persians, because the Persians are still there and they're still the big boy on the block. But the Athenians kind of take control and lead through a different variety of factors. The area surrounded by the Aegean Sea, the coast of modern-day Turkey and modern-day Greece. Okay, so originally they formed it as what was called the Delian League, and it's a group of city-states united for protection from invasion, mostly by the Persians, but also economic security. It's a trade alliance at its root. It's led by Athens, and eventually Athens kind of forces the other states to pay protection money or tribute money to them because Athens has the most powerful army and most powerful navy, and they say if you want your stuff to be protected and you want your ships to be able to travel the seas without being beat on by other people, you need to pay us for that. And in this way, Athens creates an army. And this empire doesn't sit well with the Spartans. As you can see on the map, Athens and Spartan are the two biggest powers. They create a system of alliances to keep each other in check. Okay, the Spartan alliance, in reaction to the Athenian alliance of the Delian League, is called the Peloponnesian League. Eventually, the two alliances go to war, and you can see on the map that the Athenians are the green, and the Spartans are in the red. So they fight this war, the Peloponnesian War. It's a civil war. It goes on for 27 years, predominantly Athens versus Sparta. Eventually, Athens loses, but Greece is devastated in the process because 27 years of war takes its toll. A lot of men die, a lot of stuff is wrecked, and this leads to the downfall or the decline of Greece. Okay, it's in some phrases it's known as the suicide of Greece. They basically killed themselves because they were so weakened by the Persian War that they left themselves prey to invasion, and the first of those invasion is the kingdom of Macedonia to the north, up here in the brown. This is Macedonia up here. Eventually, they raid down into Greece, led by King Philip II, and conquer Greece. We will talk about that in a couple days. Okay, and when we get to Alexander the Great. So what I'd like you to do for tomorrow's class is to have your notes ready to go on this video and give me one cause and one effect of the Peloponnesian War. That's all for now. We'll talk to you tomorrow.